Hey bookworms and constant readers, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is all about James S.A. Corey's Book 2 of the Expanse, Calibans War. Just a little warning, if you haven't read the first book or you haven't watched the video on the first book, I would go do that before watching this, because there's no way to talk about this book without having some spoilers about the first book. This is a continuing series. Each book picks up after the last one ended or shortly thereafter. So I will be referencing things that happened in the first book to talk about stuff in this book. I don't know if I mentioned this on the first video, but James S.A. Corey is a pen name. It is actually two authors. Fantasy author Daniel Abraham and Ty Franick. Both are from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and they write this. Like all reviews, we'll start with the cover. These covers are, let me see. The cover design is by Kurt Benshoff and illustration is by Daniel Dakiu. I think that's how you say their last name. And there's the front. They have these beautiful wraparound covers. I love these covers. These are some of the best covers I've got. If I had a complaint with these covers, it's the spine. Eventually they drop the book title in the large font and the author in the small font, and they put the author in large font, the book title in small font, and it just makes the books look weird on a shelf. This one's a little beat up from reading. I need to get some contact paper and start covering my paperbacks like this so that doesn't happen. As far as cover goes, solid 5 out of 5. These covers are amazing. Get to a little synopsis of the book. We are not alone. On Ganymede, breadbasket of the outer planets, a Martian Marine watches as her platoon is slaughtered by a monstrous super soldier. On Earth, a high-level politician struggles to prevent interplanetary war, and on Venus, an alien proto-molecule has overrun the planet, wrecking massive, mysterious changes and threatening to spread out into the solar system. In the vast wilderness of space, James Holden and the crew of the Rockinate have been keeping the peace for the Outer Planets Alliance when they agree to help a scientist search war-torn Ganymede for a missing child. The future of humanity rests on whether a single ship can prevent an alien invasion that may have already begun. And that's a pretty good description of what is going on in this book. So this book picks up like 18 months after the events of Leviathan Wakes. And while it's on my mind, if you're wondering about Caliban's War, I read somewhere that it is I believe a Shakespeare reference, or something to that effect. But yeah, there is no Caliban in the book. But that's a fairly decent description of what is going on in this story. James Holden and his crew of the Rockinate, or the Rocky for short, which is the stolen Martian warship that they got in the first book, they're still on board that ship. And they are still working for Frank, who is head of the OPA. And the OPA has grown to where it's kind of like this like third government in the solar system. It is controlling and representing all the outer planets and everything that's going on out there. And then you have the Martian government, and then the government of Earth is the UN. And so Holden is working as kind of like muscle for Frank. He fights pirates. He protects the OPA's interest, and he patrols shipping lanes and all kinds of stuff in the outer solar system for this organization. A lot of the solar system, the inner solar system, looks at the OPA as nothing more than a bunch of gangsters. And this scientist gets a hold of him because his daughter has been kidnapped. And Holden soon realizes that the alien proto-molecule that he thought was destroyed and the only sample was given to Frank is being weaponized. And of course, Holden is like a hothead. He immediately blames Frank. As soon as they get back to their headquarters, he confronts him. Things don't go well, and he gets fired. So now his only job is this scientist has hired him to find his kid. And the scientist has actually raised a bunch of money by putting a video out about what happened. The governments of Earth and Mars are fighting with each other. They're blaming each other for what happened because this battle that ensued on Ganymede, Earth forces ran at the Martian forces. No shots were fired, but this super soldier just kills everybody. And so the Martians think that the Earthers are behind it. The Earthers think the Martians are behind it. Nobody's getting along. And that's the thing that I love about these books. The first two books is that this is like really believable science fiction. I could totally see in 2, maybe 3, 4, 500 years humans living like this. Interstellar travel is still unobtainable. Space travel in general, it's faster than what we have today, but it still takes a long time to get from the moon to the moons of Jupiter or Saturn. It doesn't take years, but it does take weeks, months for that to happen. In this story, Earth has 5 times the amount of people living on it. Mars is being colonized and terraformed. There's the population of Mars is the current population of our Earth. It's 7 billion people live on Mars. They've colonized the moon. They live in the asteroid belt. People live and work on other planetary moons. We've colonized our solar system, but we haven't lost or left behind that human nature where greed and power are what kind of drive us and fuel us as a species. there's still discrimination, there's still racism, they're still using money. We still kill each other with bombs and missiles and bullets. All this still goes on. Uh, Human nature hasn't changed or evolved. Uh, our technology has just gotten better. And that's what makes this story so believable. And it gives you like this, for me at least, a better connection to the people, because you can really sympathize with them and get, where they're coming from and what they're going through. Where if you look at some of the other science fiction that's out there, like the two big ones. If you look at like Star Wars and Star Trek, Star Wars still has some of those elements of, you need money and you have to worry about food, and there's still wars and battles and everything. And Star Trek gets a little bit further away from that. They always talk about in Star Trek how there is no money, there's no poverty, there's no hunger, everybody gets along. It seems like the only people in Star Trek that they fight with are people that they meet, aliens. And this is a little different. We still fight amongst ourselves, even though we have this growing threat on Venus. And the crashing the proto molecule into Venus, it really helped the alien proto molecule. It really didn't hurt it, because now it is changing Venus in ways that scientists don't understand. And it's become this whole other problem. And you learn throughout this book that this proto-molecule, it learns and it evolves, and it can communicate over vast distances, like instantaneously, where we don't have to. Our communications are still delayed. They're much better than what we have right now, but there's still a delay. Like there's a part in this book where Holden is on the moon, which they call Luna, and he's talking to his mom who is on Earth, and they have like a 6-second delay in communication. But the further you're away, the longer that delay becomes. I highly recommend these books. I'm totally going to keep up on these. It's been like a year or more since I read the first one. I am definitely not waiting that long to read the third one. This is going to be a series that I'm going to get through much quicker than I have been. So look for book 3 soon on the channel. Coming up next on the channel is going to be next in the Stephen King books. We are skipping Wind Through the Keyhole. That's actually the next book that we should be doing, but since it's part of a larger series of the Dark Tower books, I'm going to skip it. So next will be Joyland. I've already started it. I'm about 50 pages in, and it's pretty interesting so far. So that'll be next on the next book on the channel. I have got a couple of questions about why I'm going out of order and not following the true publication order of Stephen King. I think I will do a separate video on that, because if I tack it onto this video, it's just going to make this video way too long, longer than it needs to be. I can make a short, like 5 to 10 minute video on that, and I will put that out probably sometime next week, which would be for you guys like the first week of April. That's all I have for you. James S.A. Corey, Calibans War, the Expanse series, 5 out of 5. Love this story so far. The books have both been amazing. I can't wait to see what happens next. Till next time, read more books.